news. The policewoman made more tea, endless cups, although no one took more than a few sips of each fresh brew. Someone switched on the radio at 6 and tuned it into the local station. A 5-year-old boy is missing from his home in Newcombe Way, said a voice. Little Robin West is small and slight, dark hair, dark eyes, believed to be wearing nightclothes and a grey sweater. It made it all so horribly weird, hearing Robin's name on the radio. Everyone's head jerked at the sound. More news bulletins kept tuning into my head. Imaginary ones with terrible news. I put my hands over my ears, but I couldn't block out the sound of my own thoughts. Then the police radio crackled again, and the policewoman answered it. You sure? He's okay? We all stared, hardly daring to hope. Robin? Said Mark, springing up. Yes, I think it is, said the policewoman. A small boy, dark hair, found at the railway station. He'd crawled behind a whole pile of parcels awaiting delivery, so no one spotted him at first. He's all right, said Mark, tears pouring down his face. I think so, sir, but freezing cold, so they're taking him straight to the hospital. We'll take you there right away. We have to go too, said Joe, pulling me up. I didn't dare believe it until we got to the hospital. I kept thinking it would be some other little boy. It couldn't be Robin, because I was so sure he was lost forever now, and that it was all my fault, and that I would hate myself for the rest of my life. Joe knew, and held my hand very tight all the way there. And when Mark ran forward at the hospital, Joe elbowed our way through too. She has to see him, just for a few seconds, she said, when nurses tried to catch hold of us. There was something so commanding in her voice that they let us through. There were more nurses at a bed, a doctor with a stethoscope, a policeman, all searching a narrow bed containing a small tinfoil parcel like a chicken ready to be roasted for Sunday dinner. A flushed face peered out of one end, a smaller bird than a chicken. A robin. Oh, I whispered. It's you. He didn't hear me. He was too busy blinking up at Mark. Hey, he said. What are you doing here? What are you doing here, you silly sausage? Said Mark, and he bent and kissed the tiny bit of robin that was exposed. Oh, Robin. You led us a merry dance. Or did you run away? We've been so scared. I was scared too. I wanted Mummy. Mummy's coming. She'll be here soon. And you can see her for as long as you like. But Robin, you do know we both love you and want you. You're the most important little guy in my life. I was frightened when I found your bed empty. They put a nasty to me. And I wanted Mummy so I got Birdie and we thought we'd come peace. I'm Manchester. But Robin, how could you possibly think you could walk to Manchester? Said Mark. You get the train. You took me once. We went through the park to the station, so that's what we did, Birdie and me. And when we went past the pond, ducks woke up and quacked at us. Scared us. Robin burst into tears. You dropped Birdie. Look, said Mark, producing Birdie, who flew down onto Robin's chest, one wing touching his cheek. Birdie's got more sense than you, Robin. He flew home to Daddy. I wanted to talk to Robin myself, to tell him how sorry I was. Not now, said Joe, pulling me away. He just needs Mark. And we don't want to be here when his mother comes. We'll go home. It seemed extraordinary to be back at our flat, having breakfast at the usual time. Whole weeks seemed to have gone by since yesterday. You really ought to go back to bed, said Joe. You look exhausted. I was far too wound up to sleep. I still can't believe he's safe, I said. I said he would be, said Joe, hugging me. Thanks, Joe. You've been so nice to me, and I was so wicked. But you didn't mean it. I should still be terribly punished. Well, what do you want me to do? Whip you? Shut you up in a cupboard for a week? Shave all your lovely long hair off and paint you purple? I mean it, Joe. I feel bad. Robin will be all right now, won't he? Yes, of course. Once they've got him all warmed up and checked over, then I'm sure you'll be able to go home. And can we go round and see him straight away? Well, one of his mother's there too. I don't want to look as if I'm butting in. And maybe this might bring them back together again as a family. I didn't dare ask her if she'd mind terribly. Jo went off to the supermarket to explain why she was so late, and I went to school. Lisa and Angela came charging up to me the minute I set foot in the classroom. Hey, Charlie, did you hear on the radio? That little boy who went missing, Robin, isn't he the one your mum looks after? So I had to say yes. And then when I told them we'd been with Robin's dad half the night, and that I'd actually seen Robin in the hospital, they asked me dozens of questions, and practically all the class gathered round wanting to hear. So I had to turn it into a proper story and spin it out a bit, while they all gasped and exclaimed. They didn't even quieten down when Miss Beckworth swept into the room and told everyone to go to their seats. Miss Beckworth, Charlie's practically headline news. She helped find that little boy. Tell Miss Beckworth, Charlie. So I told the story all over again, though I was starting to tire of the whole tale. It didn't seem right that even Miss Beckworth seemed mildly impressed. But then she asked the one question I was dreading. Trust her. Why did the little boy run away, I wonder? I just shrugged and backed away to my desk, sharpish. Jamie stared at me, looking a little puzzled. I love the way you tell things, Charlie, making it ever so exciting and funny, he said. I made little slurpy noises with my lips to show I thought he was sucking up to me. But did it all really happen? Jamie persisted. Yes. What do you think I am, some kind of nutter with a compulsion to tell blatant lies to everyone? But how come your mum looks after this little boy? I thought you said she was a lecturer like mine. I took a deep breath, thinking hard. A blatant lie indeed. Well, call it an elaborate evasion. It was time for another. She lost that job, right? So for the moment she teaches little Robin. I had to tell my story all over again at playtime to kids in different classes, and they went off and told other kids, so that by dinner time it was all over the school. There were many different versions by this time. Some assumed that my mum and Robin's dad were already a definite item, which infuriated me. Others gave me an even more prominent role in the story, so that I'd gone out in the early morning and tracked Robin through the park to the station all by myself. It was starting to turn into a story about how I'd saved little Robin's life. It was a relief when school was over at last. I went rushing straight home, wondering if Jo would be round at Mark's place with Robin. But she was at home, looking tired out herself, pulling fluff out of her bunny jumper. Pick, pick, pick. Is Mark's ex-wife round at his place then? I asked delicately. I think she's at the hospital with Mark, said Jo. What? Is Robin still there then? I paused. He is okay, isn't he? Jo's fingers fidgeted down the sleeve of her fluffy jumper. Well, I'm sure he's going to be okay, yes. But what? Tell me. I don't really know much. Mark only had 10 pence for the phone, and he just said that the doctor was a bit worried about Robin's chest. His chest? Apparently he's always been slightly asthmatic, and he did get very chilled, so now he's got a touch of pneumonia. Pneumonia? People die of pneumonia. Now calm down, Charlie. There's no need to get yourself all worked up. I promised Robin's not going to die. You promised he'd be as right as rain out of hospital as soon as they've got him warmed up. Well, he will be as right as rain. They'll just need to give him some antibiotics. And people always get completely better after pneumonia if they take antibiotics. Well, nearly always. How do I know, anyway? Let's go and see him now. I shouldn't imagine he can have too many visitors. He'll need to be kept quiet. He's got his dad and his mum. Jo's jumper was going to be picked bald quite soon. Couldn't we go to the hospital just to ask if we could see him for 2 minutes? I said. No, we can't just keep pushing in, said Jo. I kept going on at her. I could always wear her down. I had to see Robin again. I hadn't been able to talk to him when he was trussed up in tinfoil like a tiny turkey. I had to tell him something, but I still didn't get a chance. We found our way to the children's ward, and it was still visiting at the time, so we walked the long length of the polished floor looking for Robin. There was no sign of him. We walked back again, pausing at every bed. There was one empty one, and I suddenly took Jo's hand. "Can I help you?" said the nurse, hurrying past. "We're looking for Robin West," said Jo anxiously. "He's the little boy who was lost." "Yes, I know. He's in the side ward up at the end, but I'm not sure you should have any more visitors," said the nurse. "There, Charlie," said Jo. "I told you. Couldn't we just put our heads round the door to say hello?" I pleaded. "I suppose you can take a quick peep if you promise to be quiet," said the nurse. "As a mouse," I said. When we got near the side ward, we walked on tiptoe, though the polish made our shoes squeak like real mice. We were still hand in hand. Our clasp was clammy. I put my head round the door first. There was Mark sitting right by the bed, his head in his hands. A pretty blonde woman with a pinched face was wiping her red eyes. And there was Robin lying very still in bed, his face milky white, his eyes closed. Birdie was on his chest, wings spread. "He's dead!" I burst out, forgetting all about my promise to be quiet. Robin stirred and whimpered. "Who on earth?" said the blonde woman, glaring at me. "What do you want, Charlie?" said Mark, standing up. His grey face was going patchy red with anger. "Haven't you done enough?" "I just wanted to say I'm sorry," I said. "Oh, that makes all the difference in the world, does it?" said Mark. Jo was tugging at me to get me to go. "I shouldn't have come. We were both just so worried about Robin," she muttered. "Come on, Charlie." "He is going to get better, isn't he?" I said desperately.